This would be a short video on a feature in Freeplane called command search. I find it to be really helpful. So we'll be looking at the purpose. Some of the settings in Freeplane and some of the functions are just buried very deeply, and command search gives you a way to quickly access them. So we'll show you how to do that, and we've got a couple items in miscellaneous, and we'll end with farewell. So for the purpose, I'm going to filter down there, so we're looking just at that. So again, it's a way to quickly and easily find what sometimes can be a slow search because it's looking for things in buried ways. These are the items we're looking at. Preferences, it's got this gear that corresponds to tools and preferences. So here you see a bunch of tabs. On each one of these tabs there's just tons and tons and tons of settings, and you don't use this very often. You might change something here and then never change it again, or maybe change it after months or years, but you use it very infrequently. Main menu, that's this structure up here. Let's take a look at format, and the arrows on the right indicate that there's submenus. Let's look at node core and edit properties. It has a menu, edit width, edge width, and here's where you can actually get down to doing something. So you got one layer, 2 layers, 3 layers, 4 layers. To me, that's buried. And then icons is similar. You got some on the toolbar, which is over here. I'll just click here, and we can look at this palm icons. It's got several layers of icons. And we can look on search, or the insert menu, in a table. That's up here in insert, icons from table. And this has all my icons in one table. And it's got, you may have more icons than this, or you may have fewer icons, but they'll all be here. But it can be a job to kind of look through them and pick what you want. And also category. This is similar to what you see over here on the toolbar. Insert icons by category. And then we can go back to the same one we were looking at before, the palm icons, office, computer. So again, that's kind of a buried structure too. So command search gives you a way of cutting through all that complexity and finding things really fast. So let's see how to do that. And I'm going to close down this toolbar. So there's 2 ways to do it. One with the mouse, one with the keyboard. There are different ways to access it, but it's the same functionality. So we're going to start with the mouse, and again we're going to filter that down. The access is through the help menu, help command search. So I'll click it, which it brings up the command search dialog. Let's take a look at that layout. So the search string is right here. You can search whatever you want to, like I'll type in format right now. It displays some items from the main menu structure because menu items is checked. If I check icons, it adds one more. If I check preferences, it adds a bunch of other stuff. Now let's look at the actions, the way you get to do things here. You just move your mouse over to the one you want. You can select it by single clicking. If you wanted to actually do something in the map, you would double click it. And let's look at the checkboxes a little closer. We showed that all you have to do is uncheck or check, and that, along with whatever it is you have here as your search string, will control what you see in the population down here. Also, you can click this one if you want to see fewer items, because right now we're looking at format, but some of these items have a different form of the word, formats. Because this is unchecked, we see this one in here, but if we check it, it will decrease the number of items. I usually like to just leave it unchecked, and unless there's just a ton of items, sometimes I'll click this to reduce the numbers I'm looking at. So let's look at this in a couple of different ways that we can see. I'm going to just look at icons, and I'm going to go to this icon here, or this node. I'm going to search for a personal icon that I've inserted into the system. Now watch what happens when I double click. So now I have two icons instead of one. I'm just going to go here and Control Z to get rid of that. Another example would be to go up to the preference, and let's unclick icons, click menu items, and type in width. Remember when we went through the menu item, we started looking at format, and we went down through 4 layers of menus and finally came to edge widths. So I'm going to play around here, and I'm going to double click edge widths and see what happens to this edge. Edges are these lines between nodes. So double click, and for some reason there's been a display problem. So that's changed the edge width here on that node. Now I'm going to double click parents, drag the map a little bit to redraw it. And it's pretty handy because you can use more than one node to do this with. So I'm going to double click again. So it changed things around, all 3 of those that I had selected. Parent, and it's changed it back. And it's been handy to have this open, this command search dialog, because we've been playing around and it's just stayed put, it hasn't closed. If, however, you click here, then it will close. So I'm going to click that. And let's say I do this just on this node here. I can go back to 8. It changed my widths, but it also closed the dialog, which now I have to go back and open it up. It doesn't have any text in here, so I'm going to put width back in. I just always uncheck this. I never want this to close. I can close it easily by just clicking here or with a keyboard. So this gives you the ability to just kind of play around. It's like a little laboratory where you can make changes, see what happens. But if it's always opening and closing, it's just a pain. Now, one thing you might want to be aware of is that you can drag this to another monitor. Now, right now I only have one monitor displaying, so I can't really show you that. But if you can drag it right off the screen and onto another monitor, and sometimes that's handy because this actually takes up quite a bit of screen real estate. And to close it, you just close it with this little X on the top, like most Windows applications. Now that is basically how you use it with a mouse. Now we'll go look at the fine points of changing it with the keyboard. So with the keyboard, it's Control F1, and you can find that with not only command search, but anything that has a hotkey map to it. Control F1 will do it for command search. So I'm just going to go back. I'm going to go into full screen mode so I don't even see the keyboard or the main menus. I'm pressing Control F1, which displays just as we did with the menus. So instead of a mouse, we use keys, and it's important to note that if you hold the Alt key down and click one of these options with an underline, I'm pressing Alt right now, so you can see, okay, I'm going to let up Alt. These don't have lines now. Alt key and underscore P for preferences, M for menus, I for icons, S for search, and C for closed after execute. So if I click, I don't even have to click. I'm going to move this clear out of here. I just press P to check preferences. I better populate this with something. Let's do format again. Alt P uncheck, Alt P check. So I'm going to Alt I for icons. So now we're seeing everything. If I press with the Alt key pressed down, P M I, we don't see anything. So I'm going to go back to Alt M. So that's a pretty quick way to just access all those things that we were accessing with a mouse before. To navigate, before we were doing it with a mouse and just selecting. Now it's just up arrow, down arrow. And if we want to actually execute something, it's the Enter key. And to close, you can still use the X if you want, but all you have to do is press Escape. So it can be totally accessible with the keyboard. So let's back out of this and look at these miscellaneous items. One is that you can show things related to the command search in preferences. So Control F1. I'm going to press Alt M to get rid of the menu, uncheck the menus, Alt P to check preferences, and I'm going to type in command search. And I'm just going to down arrow and just select one of these. This takes us back into this preferences dialog with all the tabs. And these three items you can control in preferences. I always keep these unchecked, but you can change the number of items that will display here. I'll put it up to 150 and then OK to make that happen. It won't happen until I reboot Freeplane again. And the other item of miscellaneous nature is just the fact that I love this feature in Freeplane, and consequently I just wish with a passion that other applications had it. The only one I found so far that has it is LibreOffice Writer, but the way they've implemented it and the way Freeplane has it, Freeplane is much better. But I wish every application had this. So let's take a look at the last item then, farewell. If your system isn't working quite like my system was working, it may be because we have different versions of Freeplane. So this is the version that I'm using, and I would recommend that if you're using something lower than that, I would recommend upgrading. So I hope this is useful, and I'm going to make this mind map available in the description below. But if it has been useful, then I would like you to click the like button, leave a comment either about this video or about command search, and subscribe. So that's just an introduction to this great feature in Freeplane called command search, and I recommend trying it out. I think you'll be pleased with it. So thanks for watching.